Greetings YouTube, this is Toy Customizer Wakeangel2K1 bringing you another shotgun review. This time all of my Tails toys. Unfortunately, I never did get a chance to get the Vsauras Tails figure that came out with Sonic Adventure, so my oldest Tails figure is the Toy Island Tails from the Sonic X series. I also have the Jazzwares Superposer and an extensive 3-inch collection of regular modern Tails with his Sandworm, classic Tails with his Grabber, the All-Stars Racer vehicle, which includes yet another 3-inch modern Tails, and of course the Free Riders Tails at the end. So let's take a look at them one at a time in vague chronological order, and do this review upright. So here is my oldest figure, the Toy Island Tails from Sonic X. He comes with 2 little Chaos Emeralds as accessories. A lot of the figures from this series did. And his tails are a separate piece. They go into the back right here and clip into place. Before we talk about tails, let's talk about these little Chaos Emeralds first. They are just little jewel thingies. There's a yellow one and a red one. And just for comparison's sake, here is one of the Chaos Emeralds from the Super Pack made by Jazzwares. As you can see, they kind of look different. Although, I don't know. This actually does look more like the Chaos Emeralds as they were depicted in the anime and in the more recent games, but these Chaos Emeralds, they actually look like the old emeralds from the 16-bit era. You know, the much simpler cut. But you know, they're just the little gem accessories. So let's talk about the Tails figure. He is one of those figures that's in a pre-assumed pose. As you can see from his bent foot, he's supposed to be like taking a step. Although the cuffs on his socks are actually pretty well sculpted. In the Jazzwares figures, these are just painted in. They don't bother with that little buckle. So you know, that's a nice little attention to detail. I don't know why he's sticking his tongue out though. That looks unnecessarily silly. Articulation on this figure is it's okay. You know, he has a swivel head, swivel arms, and swivel legs. And even though he does come in a little bit of a pre-assumed pose, it's not like it's so intense that you can't put him into other poses. So, you know, there is some play value with this. He's more than just a slightly articulated statue. And he has a gimmick. His tails. Get his feet out of the way. Wind up tails. Isn't that cute? And the tails are not heavy enough that they make the figure back heavy. That's because they're very hollow. Of course, despite being hollow, they are made out of nice sturdy plastic and even held together with screws. So yeah, this is a pretty good Tails figure. It looks a little doofy because of the hanging out tail, but you know, he's not bad. He has a nice little detail to his sculpture, and it's a pretty good little figure. Okay, let's move on to something from the modern era. Okay, so the Jazzwares 3-inch Tails. One of the first figures launched by Jazzwares after Sonic himself. You know, he came out with the I think he came out before Shadow and Silver came out. I think the first wave was Sonic, a Black Knight variant of Sonic, and Knuckles and Tails. And then later on we had Shadow, Silver, and the Werehog in the next wave. But you know, that was a couple of years ago, so I don't really remember it that well. Anyway, he comes with the Sandworm. You saw him in my Badnik Generations review, so let's move him aside. Now, I think I should mention that the first run of Tails figures, which I did buy one but I don't have it anymore because I use it as custom fodder, had a few problems. First of all, you see how his cuffs are painted with gray? Because Tails' shoes have a little bit of a band around them. The first release did not have those. It was just plain white sock and glove cuffs. Also, you see how the tails can rotate on this figure? In the first run of Tails figures, they were stuck in this upward position and were not movable. I have no idea what they were thinking, because that makes the figure impossible to stand, unless he's leaning way forward. I don't know what they were thinking. That only happened, but like literally within a couple of weeks, they had recalled the tails and re-released them with rotating tails. I don't know who had the brain fart at Jazzwares. Articulation is of course really good. It's modern Jazzwares Sonic figure. You have a head swivel, a waist swivel, universal joints at the shoulders, an elbow that goes 90 degrees, wrist movement, a universal hip, knee that goes 90 degrees, and an ankle movement, and he has a point of articulation at the tail. So lots of lovely articulation, and that's why everybody loves this Tails figure. Aside from some people that just hate Jazzwares irrationally because they have, because they only collect like expensive Figmas and stuff. So anyway, let me bring out the next figure. And here we have the Sonic and Sega's All-Stars Racer vehicle for Tails, the Tornado 3. A specially modified plane designed to fly at extremely low altitudes and be highly maneuverable thanks to these giant rudders. The Tornado 3 is so far the only Tails plane that's available for mass market. Of course, it's not the Tornado that we all want. Everybody would like the biplane, which I keep up on my shelf, although it's probably looking really fuzzy. Of course, only me and about 4 other people in the entire world have one of those, because I make them. And it comes with another 3-inch Tails figure. Let's bring out the original one real quick for a quick side-by-side comparison. You may notice, I'm not sure how easy it is to see on camera, but let's bring in some more light so that you may notice that the older one is a slightly darker shade of orange than the new one. Not sure why that is. And aside from that, the All-Stars Racer tail has straightened out tails. This is to make him look more like he's sitting in the thing. You'll see in a moment. And he has holding things hands. They aren't all that holdy compared to some other holding things hands, but you can see that the fingers are a little more curled in than the regular Tails figures. As for the plane itself, it's pretty nice. Like the other All-Stars Racer vehicles, paint apps are limited but get the job done. You have black highlights along the black, silver, and blue highlights in paint along the cockpit and the little engine blocks. You have a fairly detailed little cockpit with a steering wheel and a chair. The underside of the plane is painted white with the red lights, and you even have rivets sculpted on the engines, which have 3 colors, and of course Tails' wonderful little logo. The wheels, they roll, although they're tiny and they have kind of a lot of friction, so the toy won't roll very far. And the propeller spins, and the blades of the propeller are made out of a soft plastic, for safety reasons. Now, a lot of people complained about this toy when it was initially released because the Tails figure's legs would break. I'm not sure if that was due to the fragility of Jazzware's figures, or if kids were ham-handing it, because I never had that problem. Although you will not get Tails' butt in the chair. The chair is pure decoration, and so is the wheel, because Tails' hands will never touch this, and his butt will never touch this. But what will happen is that he can approximate. You see, you just have to... First, you have to put his feet in the sitting position before you put him in. Then, you slide his feet so that they go on either side of the steering wheel. And there he is. His feet, his butt actually is not touching the seat, but you can make him stay stable by having his hands grip the windshield. This is the way the Tails is meant to sit in the plane. I know it's weird, but this way you don't break your figure's legs trying to get him to go all the way down the chair, or his arms trying to get him to grip the steering wheel, which is way too small and way too deep. But, you know, Tails looks pretty good in there. Look, he can even wave while he's driving the plane car. This is actually how he looks in the video game. You know, in All Stars Racer, the characters don't really seem to put much attention to keeping their hands at 10 and 2. They're always waving around and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So I think that this is actually a good representation of it. So the All Stars Racer plane and the Tails figure that comes in it, it's oh, by the way, yes, this is my definitive Tails figure, the one that I keep for me and do not intend to ever use for custom fodder ever. That other Tails figure you saw is destined to become a custom in the very near future. And yeah, the All Stars Racer plane is a really cool toy. I just wish that it was the regular Tornado instead. Let's get the entire 3-inch line out of the way before we move on. This is the classic Tails from the Generations line. He comes with Grabber, some Badnik from Chemical Plant Zone in Sonic 2. Let me reposition my light because my hand is casting too much of a shadow. This Tails figure, like the classic figures, it has no elbows or knees, but he still has universal shoulders, neck swivel, a waist joint, his tail swivel, and he has universal hips and an ankle swivel. So yeah, aside from lacking elbows and knees, he has pretty good articulation. And you know, for arms and legs this short, I really couldn't ask for much more. He is adorable, isn't he? This is probably the cutest figure that I own. And he has his little open mouth, his little big open mouth smile with his tongue. I mean, the other one, the tongue looked doofy, but on this one, that tongue makes... It's just so cute. It's so cute. I want to hug him. So yeah, it's a very simple toy, but it's okay. It's okay that he's simple. We like him. Because he's just so adorable and representative of what the character looks like. And here is the Tails Freerider, which is the newest Tails figure to my knowledge. Unlike many of the other Freeriders, Tails is actually more difficult to stand on his board because when his tails can't touch the ground, they make more of a counterweight. But on his board, he looks really nice. The board rolls very well. And, you know, if it wasn't for the weight of the tails, I'm pretty sure you can get this thing to roll right across the floor. So let's get him off the board and show it as an accessory. The face of the board is a sticker decal, but there is some paint tap. This is paint all around the border of it. And the underside has some paint as well. And you have the little jet exhaust in the back. Shoom. So yeah, it's a very cute little board, very nicely detailed, and you know, like a little car. So let's look at the Tails figure himself. The difference in sculpt between this Tails and any other Tails figure is, of course, a pair of goggles, which are sculpted on and not removable, the Free Rider's shoes, because all characters have different shoes in the Riders games, and new gloves, which are actually, they make his hands look a little bit smaller, because the cuffs are a little smaller. Again, for comparison, here is the regular Tails figure, and you can see that this one's head is slightly smaller, and his plastic is again made a slightly lighter shade of orange. I don't think it's quite, it's not even the same shade as the All-Stars Racer Tails. It's a little bit darker. Like, this is cream Tails, this is dark Tails, and this is in-between Tails. Okay, so the Free Riders figures, that entire line costs about $2 more than any typical 3-inch Sonic figure should, and it could be because the board is an accessory, but in this case I'll forgive the slightly higher price because he actually has even better articulation. First of all, if you look at his elbows and his shoulders, you can see that there's no bolt hole. You know, the bolt hole is this visible joint. The visible joint hole up at the joint. It's not present here because it's recessed inside. So that helps with him look a little bit more organic. And it's still a universal joint. And he still has an elbow. I think in this case it actually goes farther than 90 degrees, just a little bit. And he has a bicep swivel. Bicep swivels are cool. And it's not too often you see them on action figures this scale, especially for ones who have arms this thin. Unless it's like a more expensive collector's line, like, say, okay, maybe they're becoming more common, but still, it's good to see here. I mean, most of the other Jazzwares figures don't have them, only these do. And he has a knee and a knee swivel, and the wrists and the ankles still move, of course. And he has a waist joint and a tail joint. So, yeah, this is, on a 3-inch scale, this is the most articulated Tails figure that there is. And I think his proportions are slightly better, except he might still be a little too tall. Let me get another figure to show what I mean. Here's Silver. You see what I'm talking about? The Tails figure should be shorter than Silver, but he's not. I think it's because when they made Silver, they knew that he would have long boots, so they made his legs shorter to compensate, but overcompensated and ended up making him too short. Yeah. Oh well. The Free Riders Tails figure is still a really nice figure though. Alright, there's one more left, so let's finish this with the big one. Ta-da! The Tails Superposer. This is the biggest Tails that is in the series. And in terms of articulation, because he's so big, he is really, really super articulated. That's why they call him the Superposer. Okay, so let's go over to Sculpt, and well, it's perfect. This is the perfect Tails figure. It looks exactly like him. I like his hands. They have like expressive fingers on them, and I do believe that this is the only Tails figure that if you stood him next to Sonic, Knuckles, and Shadow, he'd actually look the appropriate height. When I do the next Superposer, I'll stand this guy next to him to show what I mean. This is also the first figure that I ever got that has a squishy head. His head is made out of a softer and lighter rubber than the rest of the Sonic figures. This was to address top heaviness issues that the Sonic and Shadow Superposers had, although I don't really think it was necessary because Tails' tails have always acted as a tripod, so top heaviness has never been a big deal with him. By the way, this is an original mold made by Jazzwares, unlike the Sonic and Shadow, which were re-releases of Toy Island molds. So this actually shows Jazzwares' commitment to the Superposer line. In addition to, I think, a silver Superposer, which is supposed to come out this holiday season. I'm not sure though, but when he comes out, we'll see if I get it. I promised myself I wouldn't be collecting all the big figures, but I ended up getting all the Superposers so far, except for the Super Sonic and Super Shadows. Okay, so movement. He only has a swivel head. Perhaps with a head this big, I don't really see how you're going to put it on a ball joint. He has a waist joint, of course. Universal shoulders. Although this is the sole problem. You see the tuft of chest fur that's up near the shoulder? Because it comes out like that, it gets in the way and the arm cannot move forward. It can move back, it can move out, it can't move forward because the hair is in the way. If they had made this out of a softer plastic so that it would be able to flex under the arm, that would have been perfect. But the way it is, it's the toy's really the only flaw of this particular figure. That is a shame. However, he still has elbow movement. No bicep swivel. This figure came out before the Free Rider's tail, so they didn't have bicep swivels. He has universal wrist. It moves here and it moves here, and his fingers move. Although that's a really weird looking fist, so it's better to just leave this hand open. The same thing on the other side. Kind of make him do a good come at me bro kind of thing. The legs, universal hips, 90-degree knee, ankle swivel, and there's a little bit of movement down here too. So yeah, very good leg. And his tails. Oh, look at his tails. His tails have the usual joint that you're used to, where they swivel upwards like this. But they also have secondary swivels that allow them to fan out. So you can actually pose tails like this if you wanted, with his tails at the sides. If you still want them to be on the ground, you can do that too. Or you can play with them. This actually makes Tails' tails look a lot more organic and able to move in more directions than any of the other Tails figures, which is nice. I really like that. I mean, it's not like you can put them into the pose where he's flying, you know, like this Tails, the way that they're made as a spiral so that they look like he's flying. You can't do that with these Tails, but you know, you can have them so that they're just kind of fanned out behind him, and that's really cool. So the Tails Superposer is just probably the coolest Tails figure that there is. I love this figure. I love him. He is freaking awesome. This is my favorite Tails figure. I mean, he's not my definitive Tails figure because that would be the 3-inch line, which has the most characters, but he is my favorite. So, that's my shotgun review of all the Tails figures that I own. And this is Toy Customizer Wakeangel 2001, signing out.